claiming the people pictured are from Israel and taken by Hamas. The center's imam reported those flyers to police.
They are trying to link the entire community, American Muslim community, with Hamas, even though as a community we have nothing to do with any party, with any group in Palestine. We support the people of Palestine and the rights of the people over there.
Similar flyers have been posted across San Diego County. San Diego police say they have increased patrols at houses of worship as well as schools. San Francisco's district attorney facing criticism for social media posts about anti-Semitic graffiti that was found after a Saturday protest. The Council on American Islamic Relations says Brooke Jenkins claimed without evidence the graffiti was associated with Hamas. The council calls that statement unhinged. Jenkins posted a response on X. It says in part, quote, "I listened and understand their concerns and as a result deleted the tweet. I do not support violence. We must be mindful that a person who chooses to engage in hateful acts is not representative of an entire community or faith." Now to the latest on the conflict. Live pictures from Jerusalem as we learn President Biden will travel to Israel on Wednesday to meet with Israeli leaders. The country is preparing for a possible ground invasion of Gaza, and the president will then be visiting Jordan to meet with Arab leaders as well. In Gaza, more than 1 million people have now left their homes ahead of that expected Israeli invasion. Hospitals facing a lack of water, power, and medicine. More than 4,000 people have been killed in that region on both sides, including at least 29 Americans. And President Biden postponed a trip that he was planning to take to Colorado today. He stayed back at the White House to monitor developments in the Middle East. Israeli soldiers are getting some help from here on the West Coast. Fox 10's Danielle Miller shows us what one Arizona company is donating.
The rounds that soldiers are actually being fired upon right now is what's called a 5.56 round and a 7.62 round. So the idea around that is that would be life destruction, essentially, right? So our job is to actually keep a soldier in the fight.
And that's the goal of Tier Tactical owner Jason Beck. He's donating and sending tactical gear to Israel.
We're shipping 1,300 plates today. We're literally shipping about 50 to 100 vests a day right now with ballistic plates and soft armor.
All of this gear going to Israeli reserves.
A Ranger green vest. This is the color of what's classified as Ranger green, or kind of an OD green vest. And it's got soft armor and ballistic plates in it that will actually stop the actual rounds that the soldiers are actually being shot at with.
Most of the shipments happening by private plane and will continue. Beck says it's the least he can do for the country and its people who are worth protecting.
I have a deep love and desire to try to help the state of Israel as much as I can. I've been over there 5 times. I've taken many men and hiked Israel myself. There's no other country on earth like Israel.
Danielle Miller, Fox 10 News.
And to stay on top of the West Coast reaction to the ongoing and escalating conflict in the Middle East, you can head to our website. That's westcoastwrap.com. Striking actors want Hollywood studios to return to the bargaining table. The Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers called off contract talks last week, saying the gap between the two sides is, quote, too great. Some striking actors who returned to picket lines today say they're hopeful talks will resume.
We raise the entire bar here when this contract goes through. It's going to help the entire industry. I absolutely think a deal will be reached. Of course, it's going to take some time, and whatever the time that's going to be, we're going to be out here until the end of it.
The union's demands include determining artificial intelligence's role in the entertainment industry, as well as increased compensation. The studios say they want to engage in what they call productive negotiations soon. Any possible date for those new talks has not been made public. A group of Kaiser workers in Oregon who've been on strike for more than 2 weeks are now back at the bargaining table with the hospital system. Fox 12's Carly Olson breaks down how this labor dispute lingers following a separate contract agreement that affected Kaiser workers across several West Coast states.
It's a familiar scene out here on the sidewalk where Kaiser Permanente pharmacy techs are raising their voices and raising their signs to declare their message. They've been out here since October 1st, and they say the return to the bargaining table hasn't exactly been hopeful.
These people are fighting for what they believe in.
Pharmacy techs gathered on the sidewalk Monday outside the Kaiser Permanente location off of Northeast Airport Way.
Union! Union!
a cry they've kept up for the last 16 days.
We are here because the company continues to violate the law and to not provide us information we need for bargaining, for grievances, things like that. They've tried to dictate who serves the union as its representative.
Miles Ashaya is a voice for those on the sidewalk, some of whom returned to the table today to continue negotiating wages and other terms for their 4-year contract.
So at the bargaining table, I just got back that the employer still continues to not take this seriously. They're continuing to disrespect and disregard our members' needs. They're at 20% wage increases over the life of the contract, and we're at 43.
A stark difference, one that's keeping pharmacy techs out of the workplace and impacting customers.
The reality is we know that they're far behind because they can't keep up. These are the people who fill prescriptions. These are the people who fill cancer drugs and get medications to NICUs.
Some customers told Fox 12 that wait times have been up to 2 hours long at some pharmacy locations. Despite the vastly different approaches to bargaining, Ashaya said he remains hopeful that a positive outcome isn't far off.
I'm pretty confident we're going to do all right. Our members are out here, they're striking, they're doing the right thing. There's one guy who's crossed the line, the entire unit's out. It's a pretty big deal.
Kaiser Permanente representatives tell me that guests may experience longer wait times, but they are encouraged to use the free mail-order prescription service in the meantime. Reporting in Northeast Portland, I'm Carly Olson, Fox 12 Oregon.
Coming up tonight in Arizona, plans to get rid of shipping containers that had been used to block migrants at the border. We'll tell you how they could be put to use elsewhere. Also, see how NASA is planning to make Northern California a central focus for future missions.
And another heat wave setting up over the west. I'll have a look at what we can expect for the days ahead coming up.
In Colorado, a truck driver was killed and parts of a highway were shut down after a train carrying coal derailed. This happened yesterday about 4 miles north of Pueblo. The 60-year-old truck driver died when the train cars carrying coal fell onto the roadway. Officials say the derailment scattered coal and train cars across the highway. There is no word tonight on what caused that train to derail. Bail has been set at $2 million for the man who's accused of intentionally driving a car right into a crowd of people in Southern California. This crash happened Saturday in Long Beach. Witnesses say a car ran a red light and then slammed into several cars and pedestrians. A 60-year-old woman was killed. Several other people were taken to the hospital. Police arrested 46-year-old Khalid Yagobi on suspicion of murder. And because of the ongoing tensions in the Middle East, the FBI responded responded to this scene, although police say there is no evidence connecting the crash to the war between Israel and Hamas. Investigators have not said what the driver's motive may have been. Controversial shipping containers used along the U.S. Mexico border will now be going to the highest bidder. Those containers were once used to create a temporary wall to block migrants from entering Arizona. Fox 10's Nicole Garcia shows us how they could be used in the future.
These containers that have traveled the world and served as part of a border wall are being stored at a prison in Tucson. Their next destination to be determined by winning bidders.
They are rusted, dented. They do have operable doors. They have a roof, a floor, and obviously walls. And so, we are just anxious to be able to start the auction and continue it until the public interest has been satisfied.
Bidding for a single 40-foot container starts at $2,000. Bidding for a group of 3 starts at $6,000. On its website, the Department of Administration states the containers could be used for housing, office, classroom, and other types of occupancy use.
The shipping containers are not in the building code yet. You have to go through a different process to get it permitted. And so there's a lot of things out there that people don't realize.
Local builder Steel and Spark has been turning shipping containers into housing in Phoenix for nearly a decade, with several projects around downtown, and their latest, creating sustainable housing for the homeless. Experts say those planning to turn a container into a permitted home should expect to spend tens of thousands of dollars on building and materials.
I guess if you're very, very scrappy and you're doing it yourself, I don't know, maybe 50 grand by the time you're said and done, but it would be challenging.
The state will auction a lot of 5 shipping containers at a time. Every 2 weeks, a new lot will go up for auction.
And that was Fox 10's Nicole Garcia reporting for us tonight. So far, only a handful of people have actually placed bids on those containers. Lawmakers in Arizona are trying to tackle the issue of high gas prices. The state's Legislative Committee on Air Quality and Energy met today to discuss how to ease prices by rewriting gas blend requirements. Even if the committee does approve any of the changes, though, it's not clear when an actual vote would take place or what new blends of gasoline would be approved for use in Arizona. All right, a warm up all across the West, leading to record-setting temperatures. The temperatures soared at Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix today, making this the hottest October 16th on record. Let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Rosemary Orozco, who is tracking how high the temperatures got in Phoenix today and where things are going to heat up across the West.
Yes, Alex, topping 100 degrees, even going a little bit above in Phoenix today. And parts of California, Palm Springs, hitting the century mark this afternoon. Las Vegas reporting 90 degrees and Los Angeles 82. We are going to see a big warm up over the West in the coming days for areas over the desert Southwest, including Phoenix. Very hot and dry, expected to go above 100 degrees over the next few days. And throughout the week could actually see new record highs, especially in areas over Phoenix. Meanwhile, in the Pacific Northwest, a little bit of wet weather and cooler conditions from Washington into Oregon, Northern California, all the way down to about the Bay Area, although the Bay Area saw an increase in cloud cover and cooler conditions, not much in the way of rain. That is still too much farther north. But in areas over Seattle today, some rain reported and the high was only 64 degrees. Anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, a possibility with this system moving through today. Oakland didn't see much in the way of rain, in fact remained dry, but a lot of cloud cover and 74 degrees the afternoon high there, which is very seasonal for this time of year. Checking in on the accumulation expected into a Tuesday night and early Wednesday morning. Going to get just a little bit more over areas of the Pacific Northwest, although they're likely to get a bit of a break tomorrow and then into Wednesday as well. But that rain and high elevation snow is really good news for the Pacific Northwest in areas that are still experiencing severe drought in some spots. Let's take a look at the Futurecast model when it comes to the rain. You can see here we are into Wednesday morning, and that line now pushed well into the northern border of Washington and farther north into Canada. The rest of the West is going to be dry as a ridge of high pressure strengthens in and brings us the warm up. So this is what we are expecting over the next few days. In Seattle tomorrow, it's going to be a cool one, 59 degrees, but then take a look at Wednesday and Thursday. into the upper 60s to about 70 expected there, so very splendid weather. Meanwhile, across Northern California and into the Bay Area, tomorrow's going to be a mild day, but then temperatures take off. Upper 70s to 80s expected for areas over the Bay, which is well above average for this time of year. We're already past mid-October. Los Angeles, low 80s for tomorrow, nearing 90 degrees by Thursday. So the heat is going to be on over Southern California. And well, for Phoenix, Arizona, it just remains hot. We've got temperatures in the low 100s tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. Alex?
All right, Rosemary, thank you. The Hawaii Health Department is warning that people returning to the Lahaina fire zone take precautions and avoid exposure to ash and dust. The state last month tested ash that fell onto 8 homes in one part of Maui. Those tests uncovered arsenic and several other dangerous compounds. Researchers believe those toxins will also be found in Lahaina. Heavy metals likely came from construction materials that burned.
The presence of those substances is not surprising, but the concentrations are indeed high. The arsenic, which is of the greatest concern, is 140 times above the environmental action level.
As property owners are allowed back into the burn areas, doctors are advising people to wear personal protective equipment like safety glasses and respirators, while pregnant women and children should wait before returning. Air monitors are being set up around Lahaina to monitor air quality. A special powder has also been applied onto homes to prevent the wildfire ash from circulating. Dust plumes rising above Utah's Great Salt Lake have researchers working to figure out more than whether that dust is toxic to people. They're also trying to figure out whether the plumes are connected to a possible collapse of the lake's base food chain. Fox 13's Darienne DeBrule spoke with one of the researchers investigating the lake's problems.
Past the growing Salt Lake City skyline, a plume of dust lifted above the Great Salt Lake and traveled into the air.
The dust storms produce particulate matter and basically particles in the atmosphere. And when you breathe those particles in the atmosphere, some of those remain in your lungs. And the people that are most likely to be impacted by breathing these particles are the elderly, children, people with pre-existing conditions like asthma or COPD. But at high enough concentrations, it can affect everybody regardless.
Kevin Perry, professor of atmospheric sciences at the University of Utah, says he first noticed dust plumes coming off the Great Salt Lake 13 years ago. The first severe one, 7 years ago.
These big events seem to happen somewhere between 10 or 15 times a year. But what we don't yet have a good measure of are smaller dust events.
The lake did rise a few feet this year, but Perry says 90% of the dust hotspots are still exposed.
In addition to the particles coming off the lake, we've identified that there are certain metals in the dust. We know that there are high concentrations of arsenic in the dust. What we don't have proof yet is whether or not that arsenic is actually being delivered to the surrounding communities.
But he's hopeful answers will come soon.
We're working with the Utah Division of Air Quality to set up monitors in places that would be able to capture the dust better so that we can determine whether or not arsenic and other metals are posing an actual threat to the people who live along the Wasatch Front.
At the Great Salt Lake, Darienne DeBrule, Fox 13 News, Utah.
University of Utah researchers say refilling the lake would likely reverse the problems in the area, but they understand that would be a daunting task considering the upstream water diversions that would have to happen. Coming up tonight on West Coast Wrap, NASA has plans to make Northern California a central focus for future missions. We'll tell you what's being built to help support space exploration. Also, wine lovers get some good news about this week's peak of grape harvest season on the West Coast. Find out why vineyard operators think their new vintage will be better than others from recent years. It's a pairing 20 years in the making, and it will have a space-age venture taking flight from the West Coast. KTVU reporter Jesse Gary has the story tonight from the NASA Ames Research Center in Mountain View, California.
After decades of casual dating, Monday, NASA Ames Research Center and UC Berkeley announcing they're taking their heady relationship to new heights.
This is a wonderful neighborhood with ample room for a second world-class university.
UC Berkeley Chancellor Carol Christ, NASA Ames Director Dr. Eugene Tu, and Dan Kingsley from SKS Partners say the school and the research park will soon add the Berkeley Space Center. The plan is to build a $2 billion, 36-acre innovation hub in the heart of Silicon Valley. San Francisco-based builder SKS Partners and state tax money providing partial funding.
When the University of California, Berkeley and NASA combine their research brilliance in the geographic center of the Silicon Valley, they will produce a critical mass of talent that will accelerate the aerospace industry.
Part of the planned center will be dedicated to open spaces, laboratories, retail space, and 300 units of housing. Some of that is earmarked for university students.
I think being immersed in such an interactive environment will also help students identify dire needs within aerospace. And I think that itself will serve as a launching pad for new ideas and innovations for commercial space.
Officials are now leasing property and recruiting other high-tech companies to come call BSC HOME and help fortify the launching pad so that Golden Bears and others can go boldly where no one has gone before.
Having this campus built here will really facilitate that and ultimately give us unprecedented access to students, to faculty, and to share potentially facilities.
The first step is to do environmental impact studies. That could take 2 years, and then the first building could be constructed in 5 years. In Mountain View, Jesse Gary, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
California wineries expect this week will be the busiest harvest week of the year. Vineyard operators say unseasonably warm temperatures have been speeding up the grape harvest over the past couple of weeks. Right now, their focus is on Cabernet Sauvignon grapes.
I think it's one of those vintages that's really going to be about sense of place. It's going to be expressive. Each vineyard site's going to be unique. Those later, longer, kind of mild summers allow really great hang time for flavor development. And so I think they're just going to be phenomenal.
And winery owners say they are looking forward to bringing wine from this harvest to market. They expect it will be especially good because most vineyards have not had to face the challenges created by wildfire smoke, which has really been an issue in years past. That's our show for tonight. Thank you for watching West Coast Wrap. You can stay up to date on all the stories we're covering online. Just head to westcoastwrap.com. Have a great night.